The Cadillac XT5 is going to be Cadillac's mid-size luxury SUV option, giving you a nice entry point into the brand, not being too overly expensive. But today, we're going to be looking at this and seeing if it's worth your money or if it really is just an upgraded Chevy. My name's Jason, and you're watching Got an X. Now, the XT5 looks like almost every other Cadillac on the market, but we're going to get to that in 1 second because we're going to talk first and foremost about the engine underneath the hood here. This is going to be a 3.6-liter V6 that creates 310 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque. This is paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission and honestly might be one of the most lackluster parts about this car. This engine normally, in my opinion, would be a fine and suitable option, but because of this vehicle's weight on its own, and the engine does not pull the vehicle that well. There's a lot of spots where I feel like it is a bit more laggy and it doesn't feel as smooth of a driving experience. But we can get to that a little bit more on the inside. But overall, this engine isn't my absolute favorite, but it does do the job and get it done a little bit nicely, but there are a few things it could do slightly better. But one thing that I think Cadillac has nailed it out of the park on is if you're going to look at the front and look at the design choices made, you're going to be able to tell that this is a very Cadillac-esque Cadillac. I know, who would have guessed? But they have some of these key design elements that carry through in and throughout most of the Cadillac line. Doesn't matter if you're in a CT5, doesn't matter if you're in an Escalade, but this is always going to have these nice headlights here with the Cadillac logo hidden on the inside. I think these look fantastic. They're very pronounced. They look great. They're aggressive. It really does give the car a little bit of an accent that it needs because half of the car is really bland. Another big accent point that helps a lot is going to be this grille right here. This is a very large and pronounced grille with the Cadillac logo in the middle. And I honestly do think that it does a lot of good things for the vehicle. It gives it a more pronounced, it gives you a look that screams a slightly more luxurious mid-size SUV. If you were to take a look at this, you could probably tell that it's a bit better than your standard Ford or Chevy. Moving on to the side of it, there are a couple more accents that come with the vehicle that do help it stand out a little bit more, like this normal Cadillac badging on the side here. If you're going to get a higher trim, you're going to get some chrome accents as well, like the window trim here, as well as these racks on top. It also comes standard if you get a premium luxury trim, which is the one we have here today with these 20-inch alloy wheels, which I honestly think are a little bit disappointing. I don't think there's anything fantastic about these. They're a little bit bland, a little bit boring, which is what I was talking about earlier, where the rest of the car, besides those accents up front, the headlights, the nice little logos and everything like that, it just blends in. It doesn't do anything spectacular, but it doesn't do anything poorly. I just think that there could have been a little bit more design work, maybe some indentation or something along those lines to make it stand out a little bit more from the side profile. But let's go take a look in the back, see how much storage space you have, and let's see how it looks from back there. Starting with the back of the Cadillac, it looks a lot better than the side profile. There are these aggressive points of interest that I do want to bring up, like the straight slanted back, kind of matching the Cadillac logo itself, with having the two wings colliding into each other, which looks nice. You're gonna have the XT5 badge here, as well as the 400 on that side over there, which is about it on the back, except I do want to bring up that these tail lights do also carry that aggressive Cadillac look like we saw in the front, and I'm overall a big fan. Now, if we're going to talk about some things that Cadillac did really right, is it's a luxury SUV midsize, let's be completely accurate here, but the trunk is automatically opening, even though it is in a ridiculously slow open. I mean, you can just feel that. I mean, you watched it happen. It takes a bit longer to open. A lot of them are faster. This is one of the bigger downsides, but hey, it's probably not going to kill you. At least it opens and closes for you by itself. You're going to have 30.2 cubic feet of storage space back here, which is pretty nice. If you drop down that second row, you're also going to have about 60 something, so it'll double a little bit over, which is a good, healthy amount of storage space, which I think can get you through most of your daily life. One thing that is back here that in this one that I really like is there is this built-in guardrail that you can pull up here and have everything made sure to stay stable in the trunk if you're going to be doing anything like that. This is a nice little luxurious feature that I do enjoy. As well as on the inside, you can set the trunk at differing heights to where it will open to, just in case you don't like it all the way open, which is another big benefit. Overall, I do think that Cadillac in the back on the XT5 does a good job of making it a nice, simple trunk that you can rely on. But other than that, I think we're gonna get inside the car, talk about the interior, and drive it a little bit to give you the full impression. Now that we're on the inside of the XT5, we're gonna have a few things we're gonna talk about feature-wise before we get into the bulk of the driving review. Overall, the features in here aren't necessarily too spectacular. There's no cooled seats on the inside here. The climate control is a little bit lackluster. The infotainment system is very smooth and I like it, but there's not really as many modules to control it. On the outside, your passenger cannot do anything for the music. They can't turn it up for you because everything is centralized into this little dial here, which I like as an option, but I don't like when it's the only option available. On some of the other Cadillacs, you can have both, and I really like the mix of both of them. The infotainment screen is very, very clean though. It looks very lagless. There's a lot of good with it design-wise, but overall, it's a little bit lackluster when it comes to that. Another thing that is really nice in here is there is a bit of space in the center console, which I like, with a wireless charger in one of the most convenient positions I have ever seen in my entire life. I'm actually in love with how it works. But then there's also wasted space here with this random storage spot that you can't put anything in, not a phone. Honestly, I don't know what you can fit in here. If you guys can find something to fit in here, let us know in the comments down below. But it's really lackluster in that regard. There's nice leather upholstery throughout almost the entire car. I like it on the dash, I like it on the seats. The seats are quite comfortable, as well as the steering wheel is quite comfortable with that leather upholstery as well, being a very nice little middle ground. But once again, for all the pros it has, there's a couple cons. One of the biggest cons here is I think this gauge cluster is abhorrently outdated for what it is. This is a 2023, which we're currently in, and it doesn't look good at all. I know Cadillac offers a digital gauge cluster, but this is the highest trim for the XT5 from my understanding, because they do the luxury, they do the premium luxury, and they do a sport, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, I could be mixing it up with a different one. But the premium luxury normally has all the features, because Cadillac works differently, because you just are able to get more and more upfits as you're able to, the trim level doesn't get you a lot of stuff, it just gives you access to buying the upfits, which is a weird system nonetheless. But this gauge cluster here being so outdated is just a killer for this car, because it just takes away from the nice clean look the infotainment screen has. Other than that, for the interior, we do have a massive sunroof right now, which I think is really, really nice. It opens, it's great. I think that is a big benefit that you do get when you get a premium luxury version, but I don't think the standard one has that in any capacity, so it's very, very strange, but it is a nice upgrade that I'm a big fan of overall. This does come equipped with adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring. It comes with pre-collision braking. It has a lot, wireless hands-free calling, whatever you need. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both integrated wirelessly, which is a nice little upgrade. But overall, the interior features aren't anything too spectacular. This doesn't really scream Cadillac to me. I don't feel like I'm in a luxury vehicle when it comes to feature set. Now, the driving experience wholeheartedly is where I do start to feel like this is a nicer and higher caliber vehicle on its own, because driving it is very nice. I personally think the driving experience is incredibly smooth. I feel like we're not bouncing. We don't hear as much road noise. It's very isolated, which is a great thing nonetheless. But there is cons. Nothing can be perfect, because this engine does feel like it lags behind. We were kind of talking about when we talked about the engine specifics itself, but man, this thing definitely feels like it's putting in the work to get me up and around these hills as we're driving through this mountain. I'm not going crazy fast. I mean, when I was on the freeway down to location, we were also kind of struggling to keep it at that 70, 75 mark, which I know is technically above the speed limit. So if you're a really good Samaritan, it's not going to bother you at all, but it is a little bit lackluster for something so expensive out of the gate. I really do think overall, though, the Cadillac is a good driving experience. It's very nice. It is a luxurious and high quality vehicle through and throughout, with just a few minor flaws spread in between. And I think it really does come down to what you're willing to pay for what you're willing to get. I do think Cadillac is a fantastic option as a brand for if you want something American and luxurious, but I think the XT5 might not be the perfect middle ground for most. I mean, that is practically going to be it for the XT5. Man, I think this is a great value car if you're gonna get it used. I think it starts at a very steep price of $55,000 new from what we were looking at for this exact model. I think that is a bit of a steep price to get into this. I mean, this one doesn't even come with ventilated seats. There is a couple things missing that I do think that they could have done a little bit better, and including here for a price tag as big as that one, because I mean, for that price point, you can get a lot of really nice cars, especially from Cadillac themselves. So I think getting something like this brand new is a little bit of a steep cost, but I have seen some of these going for under 30 if you're looking at them used, and I think that is a great deal. If you can get this for a steal, I think it is perfect car for that, but I think it's a little bit too steep if you're going into it brand new. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.